financing your guys' education. I know a lot of you guys are coming from Cabrillo, so it's a little difficult in regards of incoming transfers, how to set up FAFSA, which FAFSA application to do. So hopefully after this presentation, it will actually be beneficial for you guys and have a better understanding of financial aid. Now, how to apply to financial aid. Like I said, this is all general information. If you already know it, perfect. Just give me a thumbs up on the chat. If not, more than welcome to send your guys questions through the chat. But how financial aid work is there is 2 free applications. Now, it depends on which one. Usually a lot of US citizens, they will fill out a FAFSA application. I tell my students, if you are enrolling, for example, this current year for 2020, 2021, just think of it as fall 2020, spring 2021. So in your guys' cases, since you guys are going to be incoming transfers either this semester or possibly in the future, you always want to make sure that your FAFSA application matches your current academic year. With the FAFSA application, you can fill it out on studentaid.gov, and it's also available in English and Spanish. Now with 8540 students, you guys have a separate application, which is the DREAM Act application. Keep in mind with the DREAM Act application, they're very strict on deadlines. So if you filed your deadline, which keep in mind, both priority deadlines for the FAFSA and the DREAM Act application is March 2nd. When does both applications open? October 1st. So with FAFSA, it's the priority deadline, which you still can fill out your FAFSA application after March 2nd. With the DREAM Act application, you have until March 2nd, and any applications after March 2nd, unfortunately, you will not be receiving aid for that current year. Now, here's a little tricky part. I do see a lot of incoming transfers when they do their FAFSA, they always put the previous institution and forget to put CSUMB if you're coming in, or they place CSUMB on the next academic year. Unfortunately, that is incorrect. So if you're coming in CSUMB, for example, for the spring semester, just keep in mind it's still as the current academic year. So it'll be 2020, 2021 FAFSA application. Now, if you're coming in the fall of 2022, then or 21, then it'll be the FAFSA application or DREAM Act application for 2021 and then 2022. The good thing is, and I'm pretty sure, hopefully you guys are aware, is that FAFSA, not DREAM Act application, unfortunately, but the FAFSA actually created an app to where, let's just say you're a dependent student and you have to enter your parents' taxes. You can actually enter, or you guys can both log in at different times, or if you guys are not at the time together, your mom or dad or your legal guardian can go log in within themselves, and then they can actually add their taxes onto the FAFSA, along with you guys if you guys earned income. So that's a little good thing if you don't have a computer or anything, or if you have your iPhone, iPad, make sure you guys always want to download this app. So that way it's a little convenient and it's actually user-friendly to where they'll walk you step by step. We also have some some FAFSA tips for parents if you are still currently dependent, which is more of what they need to fill out, and then more so of the FAFSA app and how they can fill out their section as well. Now here is your FSA login. So keep in mind, you can use your FSA login not only to apply for your FAFSA application, but you can also go on studentaid.gov and log in. For example, you can see who your loan lender is. You can see what's the best repayment plans if you are taking out loans. You can also look at your lifetime eligibility. So for example, you have about 600% to receive a federal Pell Grant. So 600% equals 6 years. So if you're curious which incoming transfers you guys definitely have more financial aid, not so, or you use more financial aid at your community college and now you're transferring to your university. So just keep that in mind. If you guys ever wonder about your lifetime eligibility, or if you're eligible, or maybe if you're maxing out on certain aid, you can always use your FSA login and then go ahead and see from there. But with your FAFSA application, you and your parent, unless you're dependent or independent, have to create an FSA login. Now, each year your password does expire, so just make sure you update that and then create a save queue once you're logging in.
Well, I just want to chime in also. Yeah, so the March 2 is just like for real. And if you're, so I know some of you are transfer students that are already at CSUMB and you didn't get very much aid compared to what you got. A lot of times it's because you didn't meet that March 2 deadline. So even though you haven't done your taxes, still do the FAFSA by March 2. You don't have to have your taxes done. Your parents don't have your taxes done. You just have to make sure that you get it in. You can update later after you do your taxes. So just make sure to get that debt,
Yes,
like hard and fast. If you otherwise, you won't get grants.
that is correct. Thank you for saying that, Sharon. Because also keep in mind, you guys have what's called a bog fee waiver for all California residents. Now, there's a little confusion where you guys come to a CSU or a university, you guys think you guys are going to get more financial aid. Unfortunately, it's not like that. Community college, all community college here in California, they have what's called a bog fee waiver, which I believe some of you guys are familiar with, because that is just a fee waiver for your tuition. Now, here at CSUMB, like Sharon mentioned, you can get state aid, scholarships, Pell grant, student loans. Okay, but keeping the waiver. So that financial aid, whatever you're eligible for, will go directly to your fees on your Oasis account or towards your tuition first. And then if you have more than enough to cover, it will go into a refund. But yes, Sharon is correct. Like I said with this slide, March 2nd is your priority deadline. Now, I do see a lot of students where maybe they're just not ready to file yet, or they're going to file, but not in time by March 2nd. It is okay. Just file your FAFSA by March 2nd, and you can always make corrections after the March 2nd deadline. So if that's your case for the upcoming year, still fill out your taxes. If you don't know your taxes, you can always mark 0. And once you file, you can log back in, make a FAFSA correction, and enter your taxes. Now, for next year, for FAFSA 21, 2022, you guys are going to need your 2019 taxes. Okay. Keep in mind, we always go 2 years back. But with the pandemic and the COVID, we do see a lot of students and parents losing their jobs due to the pandemic. Please do not worry. If your taxes does not reflect 2019, meaning if you're making less this year or if you lost income, lost your job, we have what's called a student parent income change form. What that is, we will have that available probably around summer. That form will determine your income as of today, then reported back in 2 years ago on 2019. So if that's ever the case, please follow up with us in our financial aid office around summertime if that is the case for you. But like Sharon mentioned, please go ahead and file your FAFSA, regardless if you don't file taxes or not. But we just want your FAFSA in, so that way you guys not lose either state eligibility, like state aid, middle class scholarship, or any other scholarships in the future as well. So when we're entering your FAFSA application, we see this website called the irs.gov website. This is called the IRS data retrieval tool. What this is actually much convenient and faster instead of manually entering your taxes. So once you're eligible for it, once you enter your taxes, you'll see, would you link your taxes onto the IRS data retrieval tool? You're going to say yes, and then this is the form that you're going to see. You want to make sure that you're entering the same address that you use for filing your taxes. It's very case sensitive, so it's not going to let you go through unless it matches. Now, sometimes it's not going to go through regardless of multiple other scenarios. If you cannot link whatsoever, you still got to manually enter your taxes. So if you're on here, you enter your mailing address, you just want to transfer or click on transfer my tax information onto FAFSA. Once you click transfer now, you will see everything that will say transferred on the IRS, and it's actually a little easier because then you go to the next step. So what happens next? So let's just say that you filed your FAFSA application or your DREAM Act application. How we monitor financial aid or how much you're eligible for, we go based off EFC, expected family contribution. What that means is they create a formula. The higher the EFC, which is a number, most likely you're only going to get loans. The lowest the EFC, which is 0, you can get grants, possibly scholarships, and loans. How we take that in consideration, of generating your EFC number, we take a look at your income if you filed. We'll look at your parents' income if they filed. We'll also take a look at family household size, how many people are enrolled in college, other assets such as home and retirement, and cash and savings. So let's just say that we already completed it and we looked on the right side, we see that we have a little chart of what you're getting. So keep in mind, you always see this after you submit your FAFSA application. So if you don't know your awards or you're still expecting an award letter from your previous institution or just your current school, you can see on the bottom right-hand corner, it will give you a prediction of what you're getting or what you're receiving for that academic year. So if you see over here on the right-hand side of the picture, your EFC is 0. So that's awesome. You can get grants and loans. On the right-hand side, it will explain what awards you're getting, which is the Pell grant, free money. You do not have to pay it back unless you drop below halftime. And then student loans, which could also include subsidized loan, unsubsidized loan, which I will explain each awards later in the presentation. But keep in mind with these awards, a lot of students get confused that that's all you're getting for one semester. Not exactly. This awards for both your Pell Grant and the subsidized loan, it does split evenly, half for fall and half for spring. So keep in mind that these awards is always estimated for the whole academic year. Now, once you completed your FAFSA, the next step as us as Financial Aid Office will notify you guys if you were selected for any documentation. It can be a random selection through the federal government, or we just need to verify certain things. So this could be an example of all the documentations that we send out to students if they were selected. So one is selector service. Selector service is more as in if we do go into a draft, a military draft, are you able to register, and which that is a little bit more in depth, but it's something along the lines of selector service. If you were selected, it's if you were in the future, if we're going into the draft, would you be able to register? Which this is more in depth. Another one is citizenship will flag you. So if you have a passport, a valid passport, or actually a valid signed passport, alien neutralization, just certain documents that we can have for your citizenship. The most common one that we send out is verification documents. Now, what is verification? Maybe some of you guys were selected in a previous institution, but here we will notify you if you were selected for a certain verification. The most common one that we always see or we always notify is the V1. So V1 could be for independent students or dependent, which you will add parents' taxes as well. But like I said, we will notify you directly from the Financial Aid Office if you were selected for any of those documents. Now, if you were selected for any of those documents, due to the pandemic, we can only receive mail documents through mail. But we'll let you know if you're coming in the upcoming year. We usually notify students around March or April if you were selected for the upcoming year. Now, like I mentioned about the student and parent income change form, this is where it comes as special circumstances. So like I said, for example, if you're not making the same income or you dramatically had a decrease in your income as of today compared to 2019, then you'll fill out the form. There's also can be where dependency override, to where if you're a dependent student and you're no longer in contact with your parents or something very specific, we always review it case by case. That will also follow under the special circumstances. So any of these that apply to you, please reach out to us first so we can see if it is a special circumstance or what options we can provide for you if it's not. Now here at Financial Aid, we base it off on a need basis, which is from your FAFSA, or the non-need basis, which we don't look at, we do look at FAFSA, but it's not compared as your need basis. So with the need basis, you can get scholarships, grants, and subsidized loans. Like I said, I'll go ahead and present what each one represents. The non-need basis is the unsubsidized loan, parent loans, private loans, and then also other scholarships as well. So here, the federal and state aid programs, we have grants and loans. So keep in mind, grants is free money, loans you got to pay back. So with the grants, we offer the federal Pell Grant, the FSEOG, the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, EOP, State University Grant, Cal Grant, and then Middle Class Scholarship. Now, keep in mind the last three of the grants, State University Grant, Cal Grant, and Middle Class Scholarship. Like Sharon mentioned, the March 2nd deadline is very crucial to those three grants. So if you filed your FAFSA March 3rd, unfortunately, Cal Grant or the California Student Aid Commission, they're not going to grant you that Cal Grant because of that 1 day late submission. So if you guys are following your FAFSAs right now, please keep in mind, if you are eligible to receive state aid, they're definitely going to look at that March 2nd deadline. Now on the right-hand side, if you look at the loans, we do have specific loans. The subsidized and unsubsidized, those are your student loans. Now, what are the difference? Subsidized, you do not have to pay interest while you graduate or 6 months after you graduate. The unsubsidized loan is where the interest does accumulate. So it does build up once we disperse that loan. Those are the difference. Parent Plus loan, if you are a dependent student, you can request that through us, which we have the form available as of this year on our website. Dream loans, we do have a specific financial aid counselor if you guys are interested in dream loans for 8540 students. And then one of my programs is the Teach Grant. So if you're pursuing your teaching credential, or if you're in the credential future semesters, you can always reach out to me and say, Noelle, I'm interested in the Teach Grant. What is it? Now, keep in mind where it says Teach Grant /loan. The reason why it's like that is because key thing with Teach Grants, if you decide to pursue a different major other than credential, and I already dispersed the Teach Grant for you, then unfortunately the Teach Grant will switch to an unsubsidized loan. So just keep that in mind, but I'll also refer you guys, or there's a form available that we can speak upon the Teach Grant as well. And great, Teach Grant is the next slide. So more in depth of the Teach Grant, you can actually receive up to $4,000 a year. Now it depends on enrollment status and it depends on your eligibility, but also we do have origination fees, which is also like a subsidized loan and other student loans. What that origination fee means on the bottom where it says October 1st, 2020, the origination fees always change every year after October 1st. So what does that mean on the Teach Grant? So if you are pursuing your business major, no longer want to go in credential, basically this Teach Grant will change it to an unsubsidized loan that's already been dispersed. Cal Grant, like I mentioned, that is state aid. And with Cal Grant, it's great because you can receive maybe a little over $7,000 a year if you fit the requirements. Here are the general requirements that we list for Cal Grant. Please make sure you submit your FAFSA and your DREAM Act application by March 2nd. If you were selected for the GPA verification form, you will actually have it signed and completed by your previous institution. So for example, it will be Cabrillo College. They will be the ones that will fill out the GPA verification form. Now, if you were already here, if you completed over 24 units here at CSUMB, we send ours electronically. Now, other institutions, they can be doing the same thing, but just reach out to your financial aid office at your previous institution to make sure that they can fill out the GPA verification form. Now, we do see commonly for incoming transfers is the Cal Grant transfer entitlement. What that means is we just want to make sure that you're in good standing from your previous institutions. So we're going to ask transcripts from Cabrillo, maybe your high school transcripts. There is certain requirements, and if you meet them, then basically that's it, and you'll still receive your Cal Grant. And then also we just want to make sure that where your Cal Grant was sent. So for example, let's just say spring 2021, you're in Cabrillo College. You already received Cal Grant here or at Cabrillo. Just keep in mind in the fall semester, you actually have to switch schools. So if you did not log into your Webgrants for Students or did not make an account, I recommend make an account so that way if you ever go to another institution, for example, CSUMB, and you are currently receiving the Cal Grant, keep in mind that you just want to make a school change and submit it on Webgrants for Students. Now, CSUMB scholarships, we do have those, and this is one of our biggest scholarships. We offer it always prior year. So for example, for the 21-2022 CSUMB scholarships, it's available now. I will go ahead and send you the link to our scholarship website at the end of the presentation when you guys answer questions or ask questions for me. But how it works with the CSUMB scholarships, we have multiple donors. So last year we awarded about 60 different scholarships, and it can go from $100 to the biggest one is $12,000, which is the Krause Scholarship. How it works is one application and it goes to all CSUMB scholarships. Like I said, I will provide the link of the CSUMB scholarships under the Zoom chat once we're done. But how it works is it does open now. Usually it closes around February, which we're in February right now, but I'm pretty sure we're going to extend it. It is online. You must have a CSUMB login. And the requirements that we're asking for while applying for the CSUMB scholarships is at least 2 letter recommendations, anybody but family, and in an email, which that person, or let's just say a professor, if they choose not to send it to you directly, they can always upload it themselves and they can enter their email. Lastly, we just need unofficial transcripts. So if you're coming from Cabrillo, it could be unofficial and you can upload that as well online. So limit for loans. So I know student loans are pretty scary. My personal experience, I went to Hawaii and I've been paying out of state tuition. So I took the subsidized and the unsubsidized and the plus loan, which I'm currently still paying. But with the limits for loans, my experience is it's pretty convenient and it's really manageable to pay it back. We definitely walk you through loans. So for example, if you're taking out loans for this current year or semester, it is mandatory for you to do 2 requirements, which is the loan entrance counseling workshop and the master promissory note. And that's more a little in depth of what loans are about. Now, if you are planning to graduate here and you took out loans in the past from CSUMB, then most likely you will be mandatory to attend an exit loan workshop with one of us as counselors. And from there, we will actually make sure that who's your lender again, what is the best repayment option, or if you have any questions, just making sure that you guys are comfortable exiting out and knowing what you guys have to pay back for your student loans. So like I said, there is limits for loans. So as a dependent student, you have a total lifetime of $31,000. Now, what I mentioned where it says no more than $23,000, that is for your subsidized loan. Remember, subsidized loans, you do not have to pay interest. Now, if you're an independent student, obviously it's going to be a little bit more, which your total lifetime eligibility for student loans is $57,500. But luckily, you'll still have the same amount of $23,000 of max to receive in your subsidized loan. Now, if you're planning to go to graduate school, it's a little different. Keep in mind, you still got to fill out your FAFSA, but you're probably mostly going to be eligible for student loans. Now, it can be for a different institution to where maybe you have eligibility for maybe grants, but for us at CSUMB, for a graduate student, you are only eligible for an unsubsidized loan. Now, keep in mind, if you are going to be enrolled in the credential program, keep in mind here at CSUMB, the teaching credential program is a 5th-year undergrad. So what does that mean? That means if you haven't maxed out on your Pell grant, you haven't maxed out on your subsidized loan, you still can use that eligibility to apply for your credential program, okay? Now, like I mentioned, the limits for Pell Grant is 600. So keep in mind, 600 equals 6 years. We do actually total up at your previous institutions. So if you receive the Pell Grant in Cabrillo, we'll still use that or accountable for up to your 600%. Now, let's just say you don't know, and maybe you're about to max out on your Pell Grant. We will notify you guys to let you know, saying, hey, you're actually about to exceed your Pell lifetime eligibility, also known as Pell LEU. So if you feel like you don't know, you can always reach out to us as counselors, but we'll always send you a communication through your CSUMB email, letting you know that, hey, you're about to max out, or hey, this is the only amount you can receive, and then you're completely done. But like I said, if you have any questions, if you're not for sure, if you have enough eligibility, reach out to us and we can actually look it for you. Now, SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress. What this means is Usually academic advising has academic probation if you failed your courses or so forth. It's similar for us as financial aid, but it's called SAP. So we monitor SAP after each semester when grades are posted. And how we monitor SAP, there's 3 categories. One is GPA. Did you pass over a 2.0 as an undergrad? 2, course completion rate, also known as PACE. Did you pass 67% of your classes? Now, if you pass 66.9, 66.6, unfortunately, we don't have the grading curve. So if you are in that category, most likely you're going to be placed on SAP. Lastly, we see this common in incoming transfers, which is called the maximum time frame. What this means is, let's just say you have transferable credits from Cabrillo and you did credits here at CSUMB. Well, it totaled up to, let's just say, over 180, because that is the exceeded amount that you can receive as an undergrad. Total is 180 units. Let's just say you got 181. Most likely that's the reason why you're on SAP, is because you're at an excessive amount of units as the time frame. But like I said, we will notify you guys through CSUMB email if you guys were placed on SAP. Now, don't be discouraged about the $19,500 of our cost of attendance. Keep in mind, we're in a pandemic, so it's going to be much more affordable because we're working remotely from home and classes are virtual. Every student has access to an individual financial aid counselor. So for example, my alpha is B through H, and I'm also in charge of Cal Grant and Teach Grant. But we also have specific financial aid counselors for like middle class scholarship or outside scholarships. It's available on our website. And then don't forget about the CSUMB scholarships. Like I said, we offer over 60 different scholarships, which I will provide the link for you guys in the Zoom chat after we're done. So basically this is the last slide. So any documentation, we always receive it through mail. Obviously, we're not in an office because we're working remotely from home. So you can definitely email us, and we are responding maybe 2 to 3 business days, especially during our peak time. And you are most definitely welcome to come drop in our Zoom hours. Our Zoom drop-in hours, we have it every day until basically we go back on campus. So if you guys have any questions, even if you're not enrolled or maybe you just want to talk to a financial aid counselor, I will also provide our link to our Zoom workshops every day, determining the times. And you're more than welcome to drop in and if you have any general questions. But that's about it. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. I could take questions now and hopefully I can answer it to the best of my ability.
And Noel, I just have a couple of comments that I sometimes see with transfer students. So at Cabrillo, you know, your tuition is per credit, and at CSUMB, you either pay, there's only 2 different levels of tuition. It's 0 to 6 units or more than 6. So if you enroll in 7 units, for example, you might think, oh, I'll save money because it costs me less than 12 units, but it'll actually cost you the same, but you won't get your full-time financial aid. So you want to be sure to be in either 6 units or 12 or more units. Otherwise, you're going to run into all kinds of financial aid trouble.
Yes, that is correct, Sharon. I see that a lot where students get a little confused on half-time status, and then they enroll in more classes and they get upset because the tuition increased. Keep in mind, students, is that if you're enrolled in at least half-time, which is 6 units compared to 12 or 13 units, the tuition price will remain the same. Now, if you guys want numbers, if you enrolled at least half-time, the tuition per semester is $3,573.50. That is including your tuition itself and any miscellaneous fees. Now, keep in mind, if the miscellaneous fees does not apply to you, you cannot opt them out, unfortunately. Okay, so for example, like the transportation, we get that a lot, or student union fees, but we're not on campus. Just keep in mind, they're not going to roll it over. It is part of your tuition balance. But yes, Sharon, it does increase if you're planning to be enrolled in 4, or if you're planning to be enrolled in 8. It will increase if you're enrolled in 6 or more, but at least it will remain the same.
7 or more.
Yes. Oh, 6 or more. 6 or more.
7, if you're in 0 to 6, it's the same tuition. 7 or more, the tuition goes up.
Yeah, because we see that a lot, that we see that is 6, and then the tuition is the 35.73.
No, 6 is positive.
But you know what, Sharon, if you guys are definitely want to make sure, always contact Campus Service Center, because the reason why is because there's different undergraduate pricing, there's graduate, there's credential. But yes, Sharon is correct. That's why I'm mentioning either 6 or 7, depending on your program. So if you're an undergraduate, Campus Service Center, which I can also chat that as well. Campus Service Center is in charge of payments. So such as the installment payment plan, if you want to make a payment like your student enrollment fees once you are here, they are open for phone calls. So let me just type it in to all of you guys.
And I just shared my screen. So this is from like the catalog. So it's like if your tuition is for undergraduates, it's 0 to 6, it's 1 fee. Then and then what Noelle was also including was there's about 700 and something worth of fees. So altogether, so 0 to 6, it's this much for tuition, and then there's fees, and then anything 6.1 or above will be about 3,573 total. And so the price she was quoting you for like $19,000 for cost of attendance, that's estimated including housing, transportation, and stuff like that.
Perfect. And then I'm also, guys, I am sending the link to our website, to where the first website, if I can go ahead and send that to you guys, it's our Zoom and drop-in hours. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to copy the Zoom link and then attend our our drop-in hours. And then also I will send you guys the website to where you guys can actually complete the CSUMB scholarship itself. So here
and I think
our
that if you're not at CSUMB yet, you won't have the right login to be able to submit it until, so there's some other scholarships that are due in April, but the ones that are due in February, I'm pretty sure that the students that are, even if you're admitted, you won't have that login to be able to access the CSUMB scholarships this year.
That is correct. Yes, you do have to have a CSUMB login, but I do have some outside donors as well that we have on our website that you guys maybe want to apply for. So anything works, right? So I'll go ahead and send you guys the link to our scholarship webpage. If you do have your CSUMB login, awesome, go ahead and apply for our general CSUMB scholarship. But if not, we do have other donors on our website that hopefully that you guys can apply for as well. So I'll send that as well. There you go. Do I have any other questions?
I guess I just have one more comment, and this is just from the perspective of an advising person who was meeting with a lot of transfer students who were scrambling at the last minute to get their documentation in. So if you see an email from financial aid, between like March and July, make sure you open it, make sure you do exactly what it says, because I've had students whose parents didn't trust the IRS and they didn't want to do the automatic thing where the IRS imports their taxes into their FAFSA. So then there's a different document you have to provide. So if you don't, and then you have to order it from the IRS and it takes 2 weeks, and then you have to mail it to the financial aid. And so you really want to get that stuff done early, or you will be just super stressed out and mad at the beginning of the semester. So open your email from financial aid.
To piggyback on Sharon, that is correct, because how it works, if you were selected for documents, we do have a priority deadline to submit your documents, but we have what's called a payment tuition deadline, and versus the payment extension. So let's just say you didn't turn in your verification in time. Unfortunately, we can't place in extensions. What extensions mean is financial aid doesn't physically kick into your account until the first week of school. So if you haven't taken care of your documents, or if it's not even in our office, we can't grant you a payment extension. And from that, the consequences, you're gonna be dropped from your classes. So if you see a CSUMB Financial Aid email, please open it, because we can't determine your eligibility until the documents are in and completed, okay? So if you guys do get an email around March or April for the next upcoming year, see if you're selected for documents, and then get the ball rolling, because like Sharon said, the IRS department, it does take forever to get documents what you need. So such as like tax return transcripts, the non-filing letter, especially with the pandemic, We noticed that a lot of students don't get it until 4 or 5 weeks later. And then by then it will be too late. So if anything, log your taxes onto or link your taxes to the data retrieval tool that I mentioned in the presentation. Or once you get that email that you were selected for documents, right away, go ahead and try to request what is needed from the IRS if you were selected for those documents. Do we have any other questions?
I do have a question, actually. Hi, thank you so much for all the information. I did apply for financial aid early on. I think it was somewhere between the end of last year.
Okay.
And then I realized my daughter is actually gonna graduate high school, so she's gonna be going on to college, and I didn't add that to my application. Can I go back and change it? But also she's thinking of enrolling in the military, so I don't even know if I should wait until she's fully enrolled into the military, if that's gonna like make a difference.
You can always make FAFSA corrections. So you can just add her now because we don't know yet. But if she is, most likely, at least you have it. But if she's not, then you can always make the FAFSA correction and say no longer in attending school. But as of now, yes, go ahead and add the 1 or 2 people in college or whatever the case may be, and then submit the whole FAFSA.
Okay.
A lot of students make changes, but they don't resubmit the FAFSA itself. So if you're going to make the correction and then submit the whole application with the signatures.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Did anybody else have any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
It was about the CSUMB scholarship that said that it was due at the 2nd week of February. That's the one where you submit the application. It goes up to all 60 scholarships. Do you know when that day is specifically?
Yeah, the scholarship committee hasn't reached out to us yet, but I know they're extending the date just due to the pandemic. But yes, you are correct. If on the application, it will state like, what is your major or all the other questions that may apply to you. If they see that, let's just say you got a business major, then most likely they'll put you in a category for those donors that are offering scholarships for business students. But you are correct. It's one application and it submits to all.
And is that
And right now, the deadline is February 12th. Until they extend it, it's February 12th. So it's next Friday.
okay?
Thank you. And if you probably just not work.
Is that, do you access that through just the CSUMB like financial aid section on the website?
I placed it on the link on the Zoom chat.
Oh, I see that, it's scholarships.
Yeah, and then from there you should be able to access. Now keep in mind, if you have a CSUMB login, you'll be able to access it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And thank you, Sharon. I was just going to share my screen, but you beat me to it.
This
Anybody
is
else?
non-financial aid related, but I'm wondering if fall semester will be online as well.
See that we haven't heard word yet in regards to virtual learning for the fall semester. I know spring, but usually we'll probably hear around summer.
Well, they did make an announcement, like, so the chancellor's office made a system-wide announcement that we were going to be back in person. I think that the vaccines might be coming out slower than expected, but we're still planning for in-person operations. Whether that's 100% in person or not, we don't know. But we're doing a lot of pre-planning for in-person. And I think that the biggest challenge is housing. So for people that are commuter students, it will be less, I think that we'll be better able to serve commuter students than students in housing.
Mm-hmm. And just to follow up with Sharon, with financial aid, let's just say we do go back to on campus in the fall, then how it works with financial aid, nothing changes. Unless you're planning to stay on campus housing, then financial aid will go towards your tuition and housing and possibly meal plan, but it all depends on what you're eligible for. But if that's the case, if we come back, then financial aid will go towards those expenses, just depending on what you're eligible.
So if I was to be eligible for financial aid, then I don't have to worry about paying my tuition until it kicks in, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned about the extension, the payment extension. So if you see financial aid is enough to cover your balance, then we place what's called the payment extension, no disenrollment. So that way the physical money of financial aid will disperse starting the first week of school.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, anybody? We still got about maybe like 20 minutes left, but anybody else?
I actually do have a question about, you mentioned the Webgrants website.
Okay.
I'm transferring from Cabrillo College and I'm not enrolled in the spring semester because I finished all the general ed last semester. Do I still have to go and make a change?
Yes. So not now, because since you're graduating from Cabrillo, keep in mind it's 2020, 2021. For next year, if you're trying to come for fall 21, then you'll just fill out the FAFSA. It's always each academic year, so it doesn't necessarily roll over. So if you are eligible for Cal Grant for the fall semester, then we can do what's called the school change on Webgrants for students.
Okay, so then I don't have to make any changes myself now.
Not as of
thank
now.
you.
Unless you're coming in the spring currently, you would make that change. But if you're planning to come next academic year, then it's just following the FAFSA or the
But
Dream.
she would just do it. She would just say CSUMB from the beginning on next year's FAFSA, since you're not
Yes.
going to Cabrillo in the fall, right?
Yes, I added that. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? No. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Noelle.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me, Sharon. Thank you, Jacinto, if he's still here. But like I said, if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. I placed our link on to the Zoom chat. Oh, wait, one more. The saying that I need to submit.
I see a question about transcript submission. And so what you need to do is go, like you have to log into your Cabrillo account to have them send the electronic transcripts to CSUMB. So I think that because when you apply, then you are in your fall classes, but then you have to verify what your spring enrollment is. So you have to submit spring transcripts, and then you have to do it one more time before July 15th. So you actually have to end up submitting 3 sets of transcripts if you're coming here.
I have a question about that too. So since I'm no longer in the in Cabrillo attending the spring semester, so I finished on fall, do I have to go on the Cabrillo website and request them to transfer transcripts again, or how will that work?
If you're not enrolled and you've completed all your units that you need to be accepted, you really shouldn't be asked to submit more transcripts, but I think it's kind of an automated email. So I think that
Okay.
if you're not taking anything, you could always just email admissions back, but I think that you may need to submit another transcript in July, just the final transcript.
Okay, thank you.
And there is one more question about that someone provided their unofficial transcripts when they applied, and they want to know if they still have to request official transcripts.
Yeah, so you do definitely need to submit official transcripts showing showing your fall grades that you passed your classes, and then also what you're enrolled in the spring, if anything. And then there was also a question. So the non-resident status and establishing residency, and so for people, and there is a website that maybe Noelle can talk, and I'll find the website that they can show how to establish their residency if they went to community college in California or high school in California, and I'm going to go find the website.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe that's in regards of admissions. Unfortunately for financial aid, if we see that you're a California resident, then we'll see it on your FAFSA. For the CSUMB, I believe that would be more of a admissions question.
I have seen that particularly with AB 540 students, and it goes back to how you answered a question on your application. So you answered some question on your application that they interpreted, because I've had other students do this, interpreted as being not a resident of California, when really you were maybe indicating that you were not a citizen or something. So there is, I'm going to share my screen. on the admissions website, I just basically typed California residency into the search button on the CSUMB website. Let me make this not so big. And so there's the residency policy, and if you do the questionnaire, then there's this little thing. You can also email admissions and they'll work with you to fix it. And there is an upcoming deadline. It says that by March 15th, you have to submit all your residency forms if you're going to question it. So I would work with probably Matt Danes from admissions on this. It's probably just some question you answered wrong on your application. So I don't really know if you have to do, like, there's this questionnaire that you answer all these questions and then you send it back. And really, if you went to high school or community college in California, you should be fine. But I just don't know if you have to jump through all these hoops or if Matt can just flip the button for you. Okay, let's see. So another question about, oh, maybe it's log on to Web Advisor. Oh, so when you submit your transcripts, you actually just tell Cabrillo to send it to CSUMB. So it'll ask, where do you want to send your transcripts? So you don't actually do it from the CSUMB end, you send your transcripts from the Cabrillo side of things and just get it, send that. You just say, send it to CSU Monterey Bay admissions, and then they'll get here. And electronic is better. Yeah, so if you ask for an official transcript, it'll ask you what college you want to send it to. Anything else? All right. Oh, one more question?
Yes. I just learned today that I got conditional admissions to CSUMB. So my question is, what should be one of the first steps? Should I do financial aid first? Should I do admissions first?
I would say definitely make sure to keep that March 2nd FAFSA deadline or DREAM Act deadline like front and center.
Yeah.
You can certainly go ahead and accept we'd love it if you accepted your admissions right away. That would be great. And then, and just to clarify that conditional status. So when you do the conditional, you often are putting in, you're saying what classes you're enrolled in the fall, what classes you plan to take in the spring. So if you were still missing like any of your golden 4, or if you're in an impacted major and you have to complete some prereqs, so they're going to want to check your transcripts and make sure you finished, or that you've got your 60 units. But I think that's the thing, is to just make sure you meet those transcript deadlines.
I also want to mention that I finished my FAFSA in January, so.
Ooh,
Yay.
that's awesome.
Thank you.
So the recording of this is going to be uploaded. The Transfer Student Success Center has a YouTube channel, and once it's